I would not be who I am today if it weren't for cancer. And for that, I'm actually grateful for it because I've been able to help so many people. I've been able to travel and share this story of hope. It led me to where I am today at college and in the Miss America organization. Like, so many things in my life would not have happened had I not been diagnosed with cancer. And so it's a badge of honor to wear that title.
Cancer is just something that we all have to recognize, acknowledge, cope with, live with, struggle with, rage upon, crush, and even thrive with. This show is more than knowing and fighting or beating cancer. It's more than just relaying science, hope, and technology. Together, our purpose is to demystify cancer, take away as much fear out of the diagnosis, treatment, and process as we can, defeat its grip on our lives. This is The Cancering Show. Today, I'm super excited to get to know Hannah Adams, who's our guest today. She's a childhood cancer survivor, an activist, and a college student. She's actually a junior at the University of Alabama studying political science and public relations and busy applying to her MBA. She was also recently crowned Miss Mobile Bay and is planning on competing in the Miss Alabama pageant as part of the Miss America organization. She's a super busy lady, and in between all that, she found time to come down to Mobile to be with us in the studio to talk about what drives her and her hopes for the future of childhood cancer research. So, Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on.
And congratulations on your new title. To catch everybody up, Hannah was crowned Miss Mobile Bay this weekend.
Yes, I am so excited to get to serve this community and really represent this area at the Miss Alabama competition in June. There's a lot of preparation being done for it, so it's going to be a great year.
And it sounds like you said there's a lot of parades coming up. You know, we love Mardi Gras down here. We love a parade.
Oh, it's on my bucket list. That was one of the first things I said when I got crowned. I said, I cannot wait to ride in the Mardi Gras parade. I've been talking to everyone about it.
I love it. Well, this is a little known JYP fact, but a very long time ago, I was the first runner-up in the Miss South Carolina co-ed pageant, which I convinced my mother to let me join because it was a scholarship pageant. And I feel like it's come full circle now that I've shown my kids Miss Congeniality movie.
Oh, yes. I started competing when I was a teen, too, and had never done a pageant before. Didn't know the first thing about it. I just thought that it was kind of like toddlers and tiaras, what you see on TV, little girls with a bunch of makeup on, and then found out about the Miss America organization, similar to the competition that you competed in, and that you could earn scholarship money that would pay for college. And so my parents said, okay, we're on board. We need to give this a shot, and ended up winning Miss Florida's teen, and it's been an amazing journey ever since.
That's really excellent. But that's really not when you started being in the public eye. Take us back to your cancer journey and how that resulted in you being a public figure in Alabama.
I was diagnosed with childhood cancer when I was 5.5 years old, and my family and I had never known another child who had been diagnosed with cancer, and so it was really shocking for us. We had moved to Houston, Texas about 9 months before I was diagnosed, and I was treated at MD Anderson. I was diagnosed with stage 3 nephroblastoma, which meant that a softball-sized cancerous tumor was enveloping my left kidney, and I had the genetic disposition, which made me one of 9 kids in the world diagnosed with that form of cancer in 2009. So it was really rare and really aggressive. And, you know, my days of swimming and playing with my friends and going to dance class turned into hospital visits, doing chemotherapy, losing my hair, and really questioning why cancer was having to happen to me at such a young age and having part of my childhood taken away. So after some chemotherapy and radiation treatment, I had surgery to remove my left kidney, my diaphragm, part of my diaphragm, and the tumor that was enveloping the kidney. But I'm a proud 13-year pediatric cancer survivor now, and that experience is what really motivated me to want to help other children who are battling cancer, you know, sharing my story to give them hope, to tell them to keep fighting.
That really is so amazing that you have dedicated your life to this, and your website tells that story of how busy you are presenting, speaking, meeting, and advocating. What really is that core message for you?
The first thing is don't be afraid to share about your personal experiences because you never know what someone is going through. I learned a lot of lessons during my journey with cancer that relate to people who may never have to face that in their lives, like having hope, staying positive. And then I think the biggest lesson that I learned from my cancer journey was to be relentless, and that if you want something, you have to continue to go after it day in and day out. And that's now translated to being a student at the University of Alabama or competing for Miss Alabama, is being able to dream big and not being afraid to do hard things. I think in my generation, sometimes we are a little afraid. We just want to sit back and we're like, how can we do this? We're so young. And so especially for young people, being not afraid to take the road less traveled and to go after the big dreams that have been put on your heart.
I love that message, to be relentless. And, you know, we talk about that sometimes with people when they are seeking a diagnosis of cancer. You know they have symptoms, they know something's wrong. Maybe the first doctor or even the second doctor said, I didn't really find anything. It's a message that's come up a lot recently with diagnosing cancer, to really be an advocate for yourself and to be relentless. But I love that idea of being relentless in going after your survivorship as well. I think that's really cool.
Exactly. And that message of being, yourself's biggest advocate. I was only 5.5. And so my parents played a really big role looking at what treatments I was receiving, always looking over the doctor's notes, even if they didn't fully understand what it meant. They were both business majors. They didn't have a medical background, but they wanted to know what was going on and stay informed to make sure that I was getting the best care possible.
Yeah. There's a photo that stands out of you in a pink princess costume and a bow in your hair, but no hair, a bow in your head. Tell us what you remember about that experience of going through treatment and what helped the most.
I remember the really core memories of it. The first time that really all of my hair was lost and I still wanted to wear bows. I'm a big girly girl and I had 2 strands of hair left. And so my mom let me keep a bow attached there just to try to get it to stick. I remember having to go through blood transfusions and being held down and yelling at the doctors and saying, please just don't poke me again. I don't want to be hurt again. And then one of the biggest memories that stick out to me was learning how to walk after my surgery. I did not want to get out of bed. I was getting all the great food, pancakes, ice cream, was watching Hannah Montana at the time, The Little Mermaid. And I said, why do I have to get out of bed to learn how to walk again? And after much convincing, they told me of an art project that was going on down at the cancer ward. They said, Hannah, you really love art. I think you should get up and go check this out. And so it took me a little bit to decide to go, but finally got up and I took my first steps after my surgery. And it was just such a great experience to be brought that joy in such a hard time through the arts, through getting to paint different things with other cancer kids and through my nurses and doctors. And so there's really so many memories like that looking back that stick out to me that my parents have told me or that I remember myself.
I love that. And would you say that your cancer survivorship defines you? And kind of why or why not?
I think it does. I think it's a big part of my identity. I always say, though, I'm more than a cancer survivor. I think that every cancer survivor feels that way because they don't want it to be the defining factor in their life. But looking back, I would not be who I am today if it weren't for cancer. And for that, I'm actually grateful for it. Because I've been able to help so many people. I've been able to travel and share this story of hope. It led me to where I am today at college and in the Miss America organization. Like so many things in my life would not have happened had I not been diagnosed with cancer. And so it's a badge of honor to wear that title.
Yeah. And how do you feel like it changed your family, everybody going through that together?
It puts your family unit structure in flux. My little sister was 2.5 years old when I was diagnosed with cancer, and my 2 other siblings weren't even around at the time. And so we had to put a lot of the focus on me and helping me get better. And I think that happens so often where what happens to the sibling? How do they feel about it? And I feel like my parents did a really good job about keeping my sister Haley included in the conversation, always making sure that she was able to go and watch me ring the bell or knew when I was going for my doctor appointments. And even now when I have to go for my scans or for my yearly checkups, she gets nervous. She goes, what if Hannah's cancer comes back? And my parents even, having to focus on our battle with cancer and not focus necessarily on work or friends or even their marriage at times. Like, it was really difficult. And I think so many families, that resonates with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we talk about cancering. That's why we called the show this, because not just that you are still cancering 13 years later, but that your whole family is, that people experience this as a group, and, their support people are always cancering also. So I'm curious, you said that your cancer had a genetic predisposition. Did your siblings have to get tested for that as well?
They didn't. I don't think they did any testing on it. And they've fortunately been really great and healthy, and no one else in my family has been diagnosed.
Excellent. And then from here, you had all those treatments when you were so young. Your body was still developing. We talk a lot about survivorship on cancering. Would you share with our listeners kind of anything that you feel like you're still dealing with, or ways that you have learned to deal with any lingering effects from your treatment?
I know long-term side effects are something that a lot of people worry about, especially in long-term survivorship care, and going through cancer treatment for my kidney. Now I have stage 1 kidney disease on my right kidney just because it went through all of that treatment. So I have to drink a lot of water. I have to be with my doctors consistently. I eat a really healthy, balanced diet to make sure I'm getting the nutrition that I've needed. But I think also mentally is being able to actually process what I went through at 5.5 years old, because that was really traumatic for anybody, but especially as a young kid. And I think even now I'm actually really starting to work through that and think through it on how it's impacted me now as a young adult.
And any advice for people who have, gone through something and are dealing with the trauma in retrospect? I
think talk to people that have your best interest at heart, and don't be afraid to share the deep, dark struggles that you're facing. It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to have to deal with those things, even if it takes months and months of talking through it. I think so often we can be scared of being vulnerable with people, and that's another thing that I've really had to learn over the past couple of years, is actually sharing the hard things that I'm going through and not putting up a front of perfection, but just saying, yeah, I'm dealing with this, so I need some help.
That is amazing advice for somebody so young. I mean, if we could all learn how to do that. And it is perfect for our cancer survivors, because I do think you build such a wall going through treatment, I am a rock, I am a fortress, and really taking that down brick by brick is part of the healing. So that's really amazing. So you're a pediatric cancer activist. What does that mean?
It means using my story for change. I first started lobbying in D.C. when I was 12 years old, after sharing my story working with Hyundai Hope on Wheels, which is Hyundai Motor America's child cancer nonprofit, and I had the opportunity to go and visit hospitals throughout the country and meet amazing families and researchers doing life-changing research. But another role of that ambassadorship was going to D.C., and so I got to meet with different elected officials, and that was my first experience in politics, and that's what inspired me now today to want to work in that one day. But it meant sharing what I had gone through and saying, hey, we need to pass some policies that's going to increase funding, that's going to result in better treatment options, because at the time there was such a limit to what they were doing from a policy standpoint for childhood cancer. And so now I have the opportunity to not only work at the federal level and helping pass childhood cancer legislation, but also in states, working with the American Childhood Cancer Organization. And over the past 2 years, we've been able to pass 8 bills in 8 states that have resulted in $98.8 million for childhood cancer research funding from a state standpoint. And it's so important because childhood cancer research is really underfunded from a federal standpoint. And so we said, you know what? Well, let's see what the states can do. And so now I have the opportunity to not only focus on lobbying, but it's also activating different activists, saying, hey, we need you to be on this call. We need you to share your story, because that's how we get the most done when we're all working together.
It's so true. And that idea of bringing people together, raising the voices to a clamor is really how you get stuff done. And clearly you've been incredibly successful. For people who kind of want to get their message out there, or, feel like they have an idea area for policy change or legislation, what would you say to them?
Do your research, have your facts ready to go when you get into those meetings, and then don't be afraid to reach out to your elected officials. You can look it up online, whether it's from the state standpoint or the federal standpoint, and whether it's childhood cancer or education or the healthcare system, different issues that you're experiencing. They really want to hear about it. I had the opportunity to work on Capitol Hill this past summer, stemming from my experiences with childhood cancer advocacy, and so often I would pick up the phone and I would hear these issues that local constituents were facing, and they said, "Can I even tell you about this? Are you guys going to listen to me about this?" And the answer is absolutely yes. That's what their job is to do there.
Yeah. And somebody told me once that if they get one phone call, maybe they'll listen. 8 phone calls, they don't get that many things that 8 people call about. But if they got just 30 phone calls in a single day about the same issue, it would be like the fire alarm in the Capitol building going off, because that is a big number, and that we think that it takes a petition of hundreds of thousands of people to change things. But sometimes it really is as simple as 30 people sending that email or making that phone call.
Exactly. When I was in DC this past September for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, I was at this awesome event called Cure Fest. It's the largest childhood cancer advocacy event in the country, and people come together and talk about different issues that we're facing as a community. But one of the big things we did is we all recorded individual videos to talk about a policy that we're hoping to pass this next year called the Give Kids a Chance Act. And we had about 300 people film this video, posted it to social media, sent it to their elected representative. And so, like you were saying, I think that that's going to be really effective, and it's already resulted in more people supporting it.
No, that's incredible. And the social media component, I think, is just a way to continue to elevate that change. So you have been inspiring lots of kids with cancer. Is there somebody who stands out to you who really kind of melted your heart or made that special connection?
There's so many. One of my favorite experiences was when I got the opportunity to go visit Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland with Hyundai Hope on Wheels. And I was there sharing my story. They did these events called handprint events where they would have the children paint their hands and then put it on a doctor's lab coat that had received the recipient of the grant award, or they would put it on a white Hyundai car from a local dealership. So it was always really fun to go to these handprint ceremonies. And while I was there, after I finished speaking, a little girl named Riley got up to share her story of battling cancer. She called her Cancer Roger. She had a nickname for it. And she started talking about this girl named Hannah, on how Hannah had inspired her. Hannah had continued dancing during her cancer treatment. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, wow, this girl sounds so cool. And then she points to me, and I realized that she was talking about me. And that was the first moment that I really saw how my story could encourage others. And Riley and I have stayed in touch ever since. About 8 years later, we still Snapchat. We still keep up on Instagram. She's almost done with high school now, which is crazy to think about. But just getting to be a voice for these kids and getting to relate to them and say, hey, you know, if I beat cancer, so can you. I believe in you. And then getting to look into the eyes of a parent and give them that sort of support. It's really special.
No, it's amazing. I love that story of everything coming full circle. So speaking of which, tell us about Hugs for Childhood Cancer.
Hugs for Childhood Cancer is a nonprofit that my family and I started back in 2019, with Hugs standing for helping you get stronger. We had always wanted to start our nonprofit, but it just never felt like the timing was right. And then finally in January of 2019, we said, okay, let's go for it. And so we started reaching out to childhood cancer families saying, hey, you know, what support do you need? What do you want in a care package? What information do you need? And then during the COVID-19 pandemic, that kind of changed some of the things that we were doing. And so we turned to social media to do a lot of awareness campaigns, sharing the facts about childhood cancer and the things that these families are facing. And now we have an amazing partnership with the Alabama Department of Public Health. We received an incredible grant from them, and through that, we've been able to expand our care package program where we're able to give even more gifts to children and their families battling cancer, but also focus on awareness throughout the state. We filmed a public awareness video, and it was posted on AL.com and Alabama Department of Public Health's YouTube and social media pages, and it reached over 700,000 Alabamians. Last since I checked, it's probably more now. And we got to share our story as a family and the things that we've gone through, and also just getting to share about how people can get involved in the fight against childhood cancer. In addition to that, one of our big focuses is getting the communities involved. So whether it's hosting a lemonade stand or a Go Gold night at a local high school where everyone's decked out in gold and they're raising money for the nonprofit, that's been really great to do too. And then from a legislative standpoint, advocating in D.C., of course, but also in the Alabama state legislature and trying to get childhood cancer into our state budget. And then recently, childhood cancer was implemented in our state action cancer plan. So it's Alabama's approach to fighting cancer. Childhood cancer hadn't been included before. And working with them, we were able to develop a comprehensive guide there for children who are battling cancer. So we've been staying busy. I'm really hopeful for what we have in the future. We're hoping to do a fashion show coming up for children battling cancer so they can walk the runway and feel like the superstars they are, and continuing to give more care packages and pass more legislation and really get just as many people on board as possible.
That is amazing. And I know your work is inspiring so many folks. How, if people want to get in touch with you or donate, how would they reach you?
They can go to our website, childhoodcancer.org, or check out our social media pages. I also have my personal website, hannahleeadams.com, that shares some more information just about me and what's going on. But we would love to connect with people. You know, if there's a family who's been impacted by childhood cancer, we would love to give them a care package or just connect with them to give them more resources. Or if someone says, hey, I want to have a Go Gold night in my local community, how can I do that? We would love to help.
Amazing. Now, you know, this summer has been called the Year of the Woman, or the Summer of the Woman, I should say. Let me start over. This summer has been called the Summer of the Woman between Taylor Swift, and we already decided we were both Swifties before we got on the mic, and Beyonce's concert, and of course the Barbie movie. How do you feel like this is like coming at just the right time for all the things you have planned?
It is so inspiring to see how women are coming together and breaking that glass ceiling, getting seats at a table, you know, working in the field of politics or working in the Miss America organization or being a childhood cancer activist. Sometimes it's hard being a girl. And so you need to have other girls behind you saying, hey, yeah, me too. I'm there with you. I'm cheering you on. And Taylor Swift, I saw the movie last night, and I saw it with a bunch of 12-year-old little girls. And it was so full circle because that's when I started to listening to Taylor Swift and hearing them sing the song The Man, where Taylor's really talking about, you know, climbing the ladder as a woman in this world, what that looks like, and hearing them sing along to it. It was really inspiring because it's the next generation of women realizing their power as a leader, as a person in this world, and the inherent value that they have to offer. And that's a really big passion of mine, is getting young girls to go after those big goals, to say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to let doubt or fear limit me. So I think that's a big thing as a woman. So often we don't even apply for the job because we're scared of that fear of failure, and men tend to just, you know, go for it. And so telling women to say, okay, you know what, you need to get in a mindset where you're just going to go after that dream and not let that fear of failure get to you.
Well, I can't think of anyone more inspiring, and I'm just overwhelmed by our conversation. Tell our listeners what's next for you.
I'm preparing for the job of Miss Alabama currently. So through serving as Miss Mobile Bay, I'll be at a lot of community events down here in South Alabama, continuing to promote my work within the childhood cancer community, but then also preparing for the job of Miss Alabama. It looks like practicing my talent every day. I'm a point dancer, so it's a lot of time in the dance studio. It's also researching current events, developing a marketing plan as Miss Alabama, and then if I have the honor of serving as Miss Alabama, I'll get to represent our our state at Miss America and get to travel the state, sharing about the work that I'm doing, inspiring women to go after their dreams, and just so many different facets of this organization. So that's a big part of my life that I'm doing right now. And then also just continuing to be a student, striving for academic excellence. I'm in the midst of applying for my MBA. So that's really exciting. So much going on. I'm really looking forward to this next year of just continued growth and opportunity.
Well, Hannah, you are such an inspiration. I've so enjoyed hearing about everything that you're doing. And, we'll all be cheering for you for the Miss Alabama contest.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm just so inspired by everything that you all are doing.
I'm so pleased you got to hear from Hannah Adams. It is incredibly inspiring to hear from someone who's a 13-year cancer survivor, someone who went through what all cancer patients go through, but at 5.5 years old, and how that's affected the adult that she's become. The thing that sticks with me is how she is relentless, and that word just gets me every time. She goes after her dreams. She has big dreams for herself, for time on Capitol Hill and working on public policy, and for a future of childhood cancer research with new funding and new policies that save kids' lives. So good luck to you, Hannah. Thanks again for listening. If you know somebody who needs inspiration or who is a young woman who is pursuing her dreams, I would encourage you to share this episode with them. I know I'll share it with my girls. But for now, take care of yourselves and keep cancering. Thanks again for listening. And don't forget to submit your questions at www.cancering.com. We're here for all of those questions and we'll get you the answers. This show is brought to you by the University of South Alabama Mitchell Cancer Institute. MCI is a cutting-edge cancer research and patient center built to fight cancer smarter in Mobile and Baldwin County, Alabama. Our researchers and clinicians focus daily on the struggle against cancer, serving a potential catchment population of more than 4.1 million people, with a singular focus of advancing cancer diagnosis, treatment, and prevention throughout the Gulf Coast and beyond, with science, technology, and hope. Want to know more about the Mitchell Cancer Institute? Visit us at usamci.com or search for us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Mitchell Cancer Institute is a member of USA Health. To learn more about all of our hospitals, clinics, and services, visit usahealthsystem.com.